This tale follows a lovely young woman whose evil stepmother wanted to harm her. She escapes and begins fresh, but during this time she develops strong feelings that she struggles to control. Every time she tries to resist these emotions, life pulls her back in. Let's discover what happens to her in this dramatic story. Our story opens with Elena, a charming girl who enjoys running each morning. After her workout, she takes a shower. Elena is not only gorgeous, but also innocent and kind-hearted. She then heads to the inn where she lives with her stepmother, Mrs. Morgan. This inn actually belonged to Elena's late father, who died many years earlier. Her mother also perished in a vehicle crash. Now, Mrs. Morgan manages the inn while Elena assists her in every possible way, always obeying her wishes. Mrs. Morgan gazes at Elena with apparent affection and declares, "You're like my real child. Since you're young and lovely, live freely and embrace happiness." However, we soon see Elena working around the inn when a gentleman named Blake appears. He happens to be Mrs. Morgan's romantic partner. Blake greets Elena warmly and mentions wanting to speak with her privately. Mrs. Morgan observes this interaction from the upper floor. This moment is crucial to understanding the main storyline. The following morning, Elena goes for her usual run, but after covering some ground, an abductor suddenly emerges, seizes her, and traps her in a vehicle's trunk. The kidnapper drives through winding mountain paths toward the woods. We notice a female figure behind the wheel. After traveling far, disaster strikes when a wild creature crosses their path, causing the car to smash into a large tree. Elena manages to escape the wreckage and flees into the wilderness. She runs until exhaustion overtakes her and she must rest. Then the female kidnapper appears, pointing a weapon at Elena and Doubt, declaring, "Your beauty is your curse." Just as she speaks these words, a gunshot rings out and the scene shifts. When Elena awakens, she finds herself in an unfamiliar bedroom without clothing. A young man named David enters carrying a meal. Elena inquires about her garments, and David explains he placed them in the washer because she was soaked, and he wanted to prevent illness. Elena asks about the woman who captured her. David reveals he was tracking game in the wilderness when he witnessed the woman preparing to shoot Elena, forcing him to intervene fatally. Now he faces trouble because of Elena's situation. David questions why someone wanted to eliminate Elena, but she claims ignorance about the woman's identity or motives. She expresses desire to contact authorities, but David insists law enforcement won't provide assistance. He offers Elena a shirt and exits the room. Elena descends the stairs and attempts to telephone her stepmother. A man named Oscar appears, frantically searching for his breathing medication, explaining he suffers from respiratory problems and cannot survive without it. Oscar notices Elena and demands to know her identity and purpose there. Elena responds that she understands nothing. Oscar accepts this and mentions his pet needs medical attention, requesting Elena's help in capturing the animal. Elena agrees to assist. Later, Elena rests on the couch when another young man approaches and asks her identity. Elena becomes confused, wondering why David would ask such a question. She then realizes David has an identical twin brother named Gabriel, who resembles him perfectly. David informs Elena she must depart because those who threatened her might track her location. Elena pleads to remain longer, explaining her fear, but David refuses. He becomes agitated and demands her departure. Elena responds by striking him, then surprisingly begins embracing him. Elena desperately wanted to remain regardless of consequences. The next morning, Elena wakes to find both brothers absent. She encounters Oscar, who is transporting his pet to receive medical care. Eleanor chooses to accompany him. They visit a physician named Dr. Marcus, who examines the animal and declares it healthy. The doctor mentions returning tomorrow for another check and asks Eleanor if she resides with the twin brothers. She confirms this arrangement. During their return journey, Oscar invites Elena for beverages. She accepts, but they first visit a bookshop where they meet the proprietor, William, and a religious leader named Pastor Gregory. William compliments Elena's appearance and displays various books. After purchasing reading material, Elena and Oscar proceed for drinks. While conversing, Elena shares her background. She explains her childhood love for musical instruments, though her mother discouraged this passion. Following the tragic accident, she abandoned everything and felt her existence had ceased. Now she desires to forget her history and begin anew. Upon returning home, Oscar surprises Elena with a musical instrument as a gift. At that moment, David arrives and becomes angry with Elena for venturing outside. He argues that now everyone knows her whereabouts. Elena feels terrible about this situation and retreats to her room, uncertain where she might go. Later, she observes David outside chopping timber. She approaches and asks if he truly wants her gone. David contemplates briefly, then suddenly begins embracing her. They both surrender to their emotions, experiencing intense passion like a powerful storm surrounding them. The following day, Dr. Marcus returns to examine Oscar's pet again. After the medical check, he converses with Elena, inquiring about her origins and flirting during their discussion before departing. That evening, Elena cannot rest, so she joins someone she believes is David, who is viewing television. Elena felt joy from their previous encounter and attempts to attract him again. They experience another passionate moment, but Elena then discovers something startling. This person is actually Gabriel, not David. She asks why he didn't reveal his identity earlier. Gabriel explains he couldn't resist and begs her not to inform his brother. The next morning, Elena goes running when a cyclist approaches, the same religious leader she met at the bookshop. Pastor Gregory invites her to visit the church, promising she'll enjoy it. Elena agrees and accompanies him. At the church, the pastor speaks with Elena and asks if she wishes to share anything. He explains that confessing to clergy provides comfort and remains confidential. Elena hesitates, then admits she has been intimate with both twin brothers and now wants to distance herself from them, asking if this is wrong. The pastor responds that divine forgiveness extends even to greater wrongdoers who genuinely repent. If her heart remains pure, she can always select the righteous path. Following this conversation, Elena seeks employment at a dining establishment and successfully obtains work. From there, she attempts to contact her stepmother, but the call fails. Elena assumes network problems exist, but reality differs significantly. To explain this situation, our story returns to 7 days earlier. Blake wished to speak privately with Elena, but Mrs. Morgan secretly observed from above. Blake couldn't express his thoughts to Elena at that time. Later, how? He meets Mrs. Morgan, who regards him suspiciously and suggests their relationship deteriorates daily, proposing they separate temporarily. Blake agrees, believing they both need space. Afterward, Blake retreats to a private room and telephones Elena. He nervously confesses he couldn't speak face to face, but he constantly observes her because of her beauty and has developed romantic feelings. He then hastily departs. However, Mrs. Morgan had been eavesdropping from outside and became enraged, deciding to take action. Mrs. Morgan visits a beauty establishment where she encounters a woman named Rachel. She provides Rachel with payment and Elena's information to eliminate her. Rachel subsequently abducted Elena and attempted murder in the forest. Returning to the present timeline, Mrs. Morgan sits with Blake discussing Elena. She mentions Elena hasn't appeared at the inn for several days, possibly due to illness. Elena then calls, but Mrs. Morgan ignores and terminates the conversation. The truth reveals that Mrs. Morgan's relationship with Blake crumbles because of Elena's attractiveness, motivating her murderous decision. Meanwhile, Elena begins restaurant work and becomes acquainted with various patrons. One day, William the bookstore owner arrives with his son Marcus, introducing him to Elena as a martial arts instructor and admirable person. Dr. Marcus is also present, and Elena engages him in conversation. Marcus smiles and mentions dreaming about them together. Marcus has developed attraction toward Elena and attempts to impress her. He invites her to visit a nightclub, and she accepts. At the nightclub, They dance and enjoy themselves when a rude man approaches Elena, demanding she accompany him. Marcus becomes angry and forces the man away, warning him to keep distance. The man grows furious and prepares to strike Marcus when Marcus suddenly appears, delivering a powerful kick that knocks the aggressor down before departing silently. After the nightclub, Marcus drives Elena home. During the journey, Elena smiles and praises Marcus as a good person for defending her. Hearing this, Marcus suddenly stops the vehicle in the middle of the forest. Elena gazes at him and begins attracting him toward her. Daily, Elena becomes increasingly drawn to these intense emotions. Marcus cannot control himself, and they both surrender to passion inside the car. Their voices echo through the woodland while wild creatures gather to observe. The next day, Mrs. Morgan arrives at the restaurant where Eleanor works, because the phone call revealed Eleanor remains alive. She meets William, the bookstore owner, and inquires about lodging. William provides the church address, mentioning available rooms there. Mrs. Morgan visits the church and meets Pastor Gregory. She explains her stepdaughter disappeared, and she's searching for her. When the pastor asks for details, she identifies her stepdaughter as Elena. The pastor mentions possibly knowing her and offers assistance in locating her. The following morning, Eleanor jogs while Marcus, William's son, exercises nearby. After running together briefly, Marcus suddenly approaches Elena, embraces her, stumbles, and flees. Elena then visits the church to meet Pastor Gregory. She asks if she's sinful for being intimate with someone. The pastor acknowledges it's wrong, but states people commit worse actions. He explains that people live making mistakes, but Elena differs and should consider right and wrong in her decisions. The pastor then introduces Elena to Mrs. Morgan, delighting Elena. She remains unaware that Mrs. Morgan wants her dead. Elena asks how Mrs. Morgan found her. Mrs. Morgan claims she traced Elena's phone number after it disconnected. She says she searched extensively and wants Elena to return home, but Elena refuses. She explains she's learned to live independently and wishes to remain. Mrs. Morgan agrees to stay several more days and suggests a Sunday picnic, hoping Elena might reconsider. Later, Eleanor works at the restaurant when William enters, saying his son believes Eleanor judges him negatively. He asks if he ever behaved inappropriately with her. Eleanor denies this, explaining his son misunderstands and William never misbehaved. She promises to speak with Marcus and clarify the situation. Elena then meets Marcus, a timid young man, and converses with him. After their discussion, she departs. Meanwhile, we observe Mrs. Morgan injecting toxins into fruit. On Sunday, Mrs. Morgan takes Eleanor to a waterfall for their picnic. During conversation, Mrs. Morgan offers Eleanor the poisoned fruit. Just as Eleanor prepares to consume it, Marcus appears, mentioning he came fishing. Elena invites him to join them and offers him fruit, but Mrs. Morgan objects, claiming she dislikes interruptions during picnics. Mrs. Morgan's deadly plan fails. Marcus leaves, and Elena becomes upset with Mrs. Morgan. She walks away, abandoning the toxic fruit. Subsequently, Elena and Marcus enjoy themselves, swimming and embracing in the rainfall. They experience passionate moments, while Mrs. Morgan observes from a distance. Mrs. Morgan then informs Blake that Elena has completely transformed and now maintains a romantic relationship with a young man. That evening, Elena attends a celebration, dancing with companions. Mrs. Morgan arrives at the party and witnesses Elena's enjoyment, still dated. Mind to kill her, Mrs. Morgan adds poison to a beverage and attempts giving it to Elena, but Marcus's intervention causes spillage. Mrs. Morgan persists, bringing another poisoned drink to Elena, and this time succeeds in making her consume it. They begin dancing, and Elena soon feels lightheaded. Mrs. Morgan exploits this opportunity to escort Elena outside under the pretense of caring for her. She drives through mountain paths, and eventually Mrs. Morgan tells Elena, "You've stolen my only love, and you'll face consequences." Mrs. Morgan opens the moving vehicle's door and pushes Elena down the hillside. Mrs. Morgan stops to verify Elena's death, and we see Elena motionless at the hill's base. Mrs. Morgan then enters a church, ignites a candle, and prays. However, her clothing catches fire, and she perishes there. In conclusion, Elena awakens in a medical facility surrounded by friends who rescued her from the fall. Elena smiles warmly at everyone, and our story concludes. This tale demonstrates how jealousy and evil schemes can backfire, while love and friendship can rescue us from life's darkest moments. Elena discovered love and passion during her challenging journey, and despite facing numerous dangers, kind people helped her survive and find happiness.